Before we get started, just a reminder that you can find all of my available rental properties on my website at marcguzman.com. If you own investment property, click on the Owner Services section to see our complete list of services. This episode is brought to you by Baniqued Commercial Real Estate. There's more to building wealth in real estate than simply buying and holding. You need to have an entry and exit strategy. You need to know when to invest, have a plan to maximize return during the holding period, and have an exit strategy to sell and exchange the property into a bigger investment. This takes a set of highly qualified professionals to guide you from buying your first investment property to eventually upgrading to the 100-unit complex, providing wealth for you and your family. Brian Baniqued and David Peel have over 35 years of combined experience specializing in helping families build wealth through real estate. They assist you in putting your investment on autopilot and will guide you along each exchange. Visit them at www.bcre.co. Again, that's www.bcre.co to give your future a jumpstart. This week on Highest and Best, I sit down with my colleague Ron Baniqued from BCRE to talk about what we've seen in the real estate market over the past year. We'll take a look at the future of home affordability and briefly touch on Google's latest real estate venture in the South Bay. We also dive into real estate technology and the impact it could have on realtors.
5-hour energy drink. This is literally it is like drugs.
Those things are
I
dangerous.
didn't have one the other day, and I really felt like a drug addict.
Yeah.
And like, oh man, I need to go get some.
You get a nice little pick-me-up like right away, like a little boost of energy from those.
Strong.
Yeah, and I've tried like the Kirkland ones or the other versions, but I still feel like the original 5-hour energy, like that does the trick. Like something about it just wakes you up where the other ones don't quite have that same kick. Yeah. I used to go to Vegas and drink 5-hour energy shots with vodka, and I would have a few of those like pregame before going out to party.
How'd it work?
And it was great. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I mean, it's kind of like a Red Bull vodka, except the Red Bull packs a little bit more of a punch to it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like you just wide open eyes. You're just ready to go party.
Yeah, that's how I feel with these things. I'm probably starting trying to gravitate towards coffee. I just don't like the way coffee stains your teeth up.
Oh yeah,
gives you that coffee breath too.
Yeah, yeah. Got to be careful with that coffee breath, and it
If
sneaks up on you too.
Coffee breath and cigarettes. I don't smoke. With people who smoke and drink coffee, oh god, they got.
Yeah, my dentist said to avoid drinking coffee just out of the cup, use a straw.
Yeah, that'll your teeth. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, but I can't drink coffee out of a straw.
No, we want that. Kind of a weird thing
to do. It is, yeah. You know what's weird? Speaking of straws, is now straws are illegal in California.
Why?
Because they passed that.
Well, no, the plastic straws.
The plastic straws. Yeah.
You need paper biodegradable ones.
Yeah, I saw that. I was at a restaurant the other day, and I was like,
"It's weird, right?"
Like.
Yeah.
The sea turtles are very happy about it, though.
Absolutely.
Yeah, true.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's kind of a good thing. If you really think about it, we're damaging the planet so bad.
I know. Yeah. I mean, if you really look at it from an outside perspective, humans are kind of like a parasite on this planet, right?
We're destroying it.
I mean, just killing it, destroying it. Just now, luckily, we're smart enough to at least a small group of humans to be like, hey, we need to change things or use technology so that we stop damaging the planet.
Exactly.
So hopefully it'll change, but right now we're just nasty parasite.
On that cheerful note.
Yeah. On that cheerful note, happy Thanksgiving to everyone tomorrow.
Thanksgiving, everybody.
Yeah, so are you getting ready for this holiday?
Yeah, just gonna have some family over tomorrow. Something small though. Get ready. My wife's cooking dinner for everybody. The rest of the family gonna bring a couple of things like a potluck. How about you?
We have 2 Thanksgivings. We're doing one at our house. Kim's family's coming over. We do that basically every year. So they come over for like a Thanksgiving lunch. So we'll do something midday, and then in the evening we go to my family, and they're up north in not too far away, but in Fairfield, and then we'll do Thanksgiving out there.
Oh man, cool.
Yeah, so it's kind of like a double Thanksgiving. Yeah, it's always super busy.
You're always super stuffed then.
Yeah, yeah. But I'm excited this year because whatever leftovers we have, Kim pulled up a recipe to do Thanksgiving leftover enchiladas.
Yeah.
Right? She said, "Hey, this is what I'm making on Friday." I'm like, "Are you fucking serious? That
Nice.
sounds so good." I mean, it's the same Thanksgiving food, just wrapped up in a tortilla with some sauce on it,
Right.
but it
Good
sounds hella
idea
good.
to do it with it. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm excited, and she's an awesome cook too. So
Yeah. She's super healthy too, so all the stuff you eat are always super healthy.
yeah, she's been making a lot of good stuff, and we've been discovering some really good foods lately. Yeah,
Oh, cool.
yeah, definitely. We have not been eating super healthy. She eats a lot healthier than I do.
Yeah.
I've kind of let myself go this year, uh, but yeah, I mean, we've just had some amazing food. In fact, one of my favorite foods right now is bacon from the Baconer, and we had him on the podcast earlier this
What's
year.
it called?
His business is called the Baconer.
The Baconer. Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
and his bacon, like once you have that bacon, is I refer to it like going to the House of Prime Rib. Once you go to the House of Prime Rib for prime rib meat,
Can't eat it.
you can't eat it anywhere else. It's
Right.
just not the same. It's not the same. Like the entire experience at House of Prime Rib is phenomenal. So going to bacon, like I love bacon, and we're a bacon house. I mean, we're always eating bacon every weekend, bacon, eggs, all that. But then I had his bacon. We had him on the podcast. We had his bacon. It was so good. And then I started buying some bacon from him after that. And it's like, oh my God, this is the best bacon ever.
Oh,
Hands down.
I'm about
I
to
mean,
definitely
they're
check that out.
thick slices. Like they're steaks, thick slices. And he does like maple, he does jalapeno. Um, and he's I want to say they have 4 or 5 different flavors at all times, and then he's always trying different flavors, so he'll add a few different flavors every single month, and it's so delicious.
Where's this place at?
So I want to say they're out of Oakland, but they sell at most of the farmers markets. You can buy it online, pick it up in person, or have it shipped to you. uh, and I want to say he just got a contract to get into Whole Foods.
Oh man,
Yeah.
pretty cool. I'm about to check that out. You got me hecka hungry just thinking about it.
Yeah, and it's so good. Yeah.
Wow.
And then Kim made like this soup the other day with jalapeno bacon. It's a corn chowder, except she mixed in some jalapeno bacon into it and it just came out so good.
Oh man, I can imagine.
Yeah.
That's cool. We're all gonna gain a lot of weight in the next few days.
Yeah.
A lot. Yeah.
yeah. I'll send you some photos of how the Thanksgiving leftover enchiladas turn out.
Oh, nice, nice.
Yeah.
Bring some over too.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll have a lot, so I'll bring some over.
Yeah, cool, cool, cool.
So thanks for coming on to the podcast. This is what, your third, fourth time maybe?
I want to say this is my second time, I think, or it might be my third. I'm
Third,
not sure.
yeah. I want to say for sure there was one where it was just one-on-one. Then we did
Oh,
another one
yeah.
with David,
David,
the
that's
birthday
right.
episode.
The birthday episode, absolutely. Yes, I remember.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how's your business been? So I think that was the birthday episode for sure was March. That was the last week of March.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe you were on again in April or May after that.
I think so.
But how's your business so far developing in 2018?
So 2018 has actually been a really busy year. Um, you know, we up until like a month ago. I mean, gosh, the market was crazy. Or it's been about 2 months ago now that the market's kind of slowed down.
Yeah.
But up until then, I mean, even now, I'm still pretty busy. Like, the prices have reduced, but people are still buying.
Yeah.
Still moving.
Actually, you know what? Let's get you a little closer to the mic.
Oh, okay. How's that?
Yeah.
Better?
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, so overall, I mean, 2018 has been really busy. I could kind of see it slowing down a little bit. Not as far as production for realtors, but just slowing down in the sense as prices are coming down. It's adjusting.
Well, for some realtors, that might mean slower business. I mean, you've been in business how long now?
I've had my license since 01.
Yeah. So you've been in it a long time. I feel like, and I got into real estate 2 years after you did. And I feel like once you hit the 10-year or even 15-year mark, something funny happens. Like you've been in business long enough to where people just know, oh, that's what you do. And there's
Yeah.
a little bit more awareness that you're in the business because you've been in it so long. Do
Yeah,
you feel the same way?
yeah, I guess you could kind of say that, yeah. Because I mean, definitely, takes that moment, getting broken into, especially as a new agent. You talk to so many agents, the turnover rate is high. Um, so yeah, definitely, I agree with you on that point. After 5-10 year mark, it gets easier for sure. Just like anything, just any other business, just gets easy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now you're doing listings, you help out buyers, but you're also flipping homes, right?
Yeah, I'm doing a little bit of those on the side.
So at what point do you decide to jump into flipping homes, and how has that affected your real estate business, like the everyday sales?
Definitely affects. If you don't put enough focus on anything, of course, if you push to another, you're focused on somewhere else, you're gonna suffer somewhere. So I did kind of experience that this year because just trying to flip houses.
Okay, so what you're saying is because you're focusing a little bit on flipping houses,
Hmm.
your actual sales suffered.
A little bit,
Okay.
yes, definitely, yeah. I mean, it's just there's only one person, and there's so many hours in a day,
Yeah.
and then you got your attention here. But at the same time, I could say that I did it from a sales point of view. I could have done a lot better if I wasn't flipping houses. Like I actually had to team up with other agents just to accommodate a client
Hmm.
because I couldn't do it all on my own. Um, actually, some I just couldn't even get to. I just had to refer them completely to another agent,
Hmm.
just because I was busy with with flipping houses and whatnot.
Now, I think one of the benefits of flipping houses is that you create your own inventory,
Correct.
right?
Yeah.
And it's not, then you don't have to worry about that daily hustle of trying to find the next listing,
Right.
and you could eventually build a small little inventory of your own listings. Now, if you're investing in flipping, it's not like making a commission. You're
Hmm.
most likely going to make a little bit more than a commission,
Right.
but it also gives you an opportunity to advertise your own real estate business to get buyers.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah. So definitely, it's just that works out in that sense, because then you have your own inventory. You're selling them. You don't have to go out there and you know send a bunch of flyers out to try to get listings and whatnot. But at the same time, I mean, there's a lot of time involved in it both ways. I kind of laugh at myself, like, okay, well, what would be actually easier if I just sent out some marketing geared towards sellers that just got a bunch of listings, or actually, buy these houses, flip them myself, and and do all that work. I've a lot of through this whole year, I've been thinking about that. Like, where's my time better spent? Like a couple other flips, I had to just pass up on them. I gave them to other investors and just
Yeah.
said, "Here, look, just here's what you could make." But hey, at the end of the day, I'm listing it when it's come to sell. But I'm going to give this to you. Just because time's money. If you're gonna spend all your time over here in Home Depot when you could just be selling houses, showing houses, you kind of figure out like, dang, what's more worth it
You
at
know,
this point?
and I think you bring up a really good point that every real estate agent really needs to focus on is sitting down and analyzing what they spend their actual time on,
Right.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Because sometimes it's not worth it,
Uh,
or it comes down to what do you really want to do, right? Like
right.
if you sit down and analyze how much time you're focused on or spending on flipping homes compared to sales. And yeah, what if, let's say, your average flip might make you $30,000 in profit?
Mhm.
Well, that might be two, three,
2, 3,
maybe
yeah, 2,
four
3
deals,
deals.
right? So
That's
let's just say an average of 3 deals, right?
correct. Yes.
So let's say,
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
so
Mhm.
then it's like, well, do I spend half my day, 5 days a week, working on doing a flip?
Mhm.
Or do I just spend that time and focus on getting and closing 3 more listings,
Exactly.
right?
Yes.
Now,
That's
there's going to be some people that say, well, I'd rather focus on the listings.
mhm.
But then there's going to be some people that say, well, no, my personality, I really like the idea of flipping and
Right.
creating something, right?
Right. Yeah, yeah. So like I said, like all year, that's why it's been an interesting year for me. Is because I've been really just figuring out, dang, what's more beneficial to me for me to put my attention to. Should I just focus straight more on real estate and close a whole bunch of deals? Or do I focus more on trying to find flips or whatnot? I mean, because really at the end of the day, I guess it's just what the agent feels comfortable doing.
Mhm.
I kind of feel comfortable doing both. So I kind of got to need to know the fine line of, which one do you want to do more? But like I said, I work with a lot of investors too. So I'm kind of like, here you go, just take it, and once it's ready to list, make sure I list it.
Yeah.
One of the things. But yeah, it's just one of those things. But overall 2018 was really busy still. Even going towards the end of this last couple of months is weird. I got all these different calls from buyers and sellers who want to do something right before the end of the year, and I'm like, dang, this is the mode where I want to hang out and
Yeah.
chill. Like, I wasn't even expecting it, because with the holidays coming up, and then I got a couple of clients calling me back. They want to put their house on the market as soon as possible. Then I got these new buyers that were referred to me, and they were like good buyers too, and they want to get into a house like before the end of the year. And it was a little kind of alarming. I was like, dang, this is crazy.
So you're seeing buyers still like in a
Still looking.
still yeah, I mean there's always going to be buyers that are looking, but
Mhm.
what you're seeing is probably people trying to get a rush in before interest rates keep going up, maybe.
That's kind of what I'm getting a sense with some of these buyers. Like, like they know, obviously their lender told them rates are anticipated to go up probably next month or so, or maybe next year. You need to lock into something as soon as possible. And so that's where I'm seeing these buyers come, the state of mind they're in. I had one buyer, he's like, I wanted, this particular property was on the market for, about 50 days, and he's like, I want to give full price. I don't want to mess around. I just want to get the property locked up. And I was like, are you sure? We could probably, he's like, no, I need it. I need to, my mode is different. I need to get into a house now, right away. So we're having a lot of buyers like in that mindset. They're getting it. Because even though the rates are going up, we're kind of in this weird time in the market where the sellers still don't want to let go,
Hmm.
you know what I mean? Like, they're like,
Yep.
no, I don't want to drop it down. If it doesn't sell, it doesn't sell. Then we got these buyers who are like, hey, it's a buyer's market. So we're really at this weird time of the market, just interested in, like, where's it going?
Yeah,
You know?
remember in 2007, 8 when the market crashed and you started seeing these properties, just every property coming on the market was cheaper than the last one that came on the market. And it was
Yes.
just snowballing. And you had a lot of sellers that did not want to accept the fact that prices dropped
Right.
10%. Then
Yes.
they didn't want to accept the fact that prices dropped another 10%,
10%.
and then another 10%, another 10%. Before you know it, I mean, you had properties in Richmond that were selling for 400,000
Mm-hmm.
that were selling for $20,000 to $40,000. It's
I
crazy,
know.
crazy.
Yes. That was crazy times. Yeah, when you could literally purchase a house in Richmond. Yes, granted, not the greatest neighborhood, but for like 30, 40 grand, that
Yeah.
those are crazy deals. I mean, if we ever get blessed again to see that market, you know, I'd encourage everybody to jump on that wagon, get them as much as they can, because those times come once in a lifetime, 10, 20 years. So.
So where do you see the market going in the next couple of years?
Um, I see it just correcting itself. I don't see it crashing like the old times. This is my personal, you know, from experience, talking. I think it's going to correct itself. I think prices are going to steadily go down, not like drastically, but yeah, like, they're going to go down 5%, 10% every other month. Maybe the next house, they're we're not going to see anything selling over asking, or than the last house, but we are going to see it steadily going down. I can see the rates steadily going up. Um, I don't see a huge big crash, just because we're not in the same place we were back then, where we had stated income loans, negam loans. I don't know, you remember those
Yeah.
days where
There's
80.
actually a stated income loan program right now.
Yeah.
That's
So I
crazy.
always told myself, when we see those things come back and it starts to become streamlined, watch out.
Yeah.
Because those loans are made for investors. not for people who are trying to live in these homes long term. So going back to what I was saying was back then, that's the majority of the loans that were out there on these properties. So, when the market was crashing, they couldn't refinance it. They couldn't even rent it out because their payments, were double to what they were paying. But now, I mean, we can pretty much these houses all got 30-year fixes on them. A lot of the buyers have either put very large down payments or paid them all cash. Weird where all this money came from, right?
Hmm.
And on top of that, the rental market, as you know, is very strong. And when the market goes down, the rentals always go up because of the demand in rental.
Yeah, rentals historically fluctuate just like any other market, right? Just like
Mhm.
the housing prices go up, prices go down. But something funny has happened in the last 10 years that there really hasn't been a down cycle in
No,
rentals, at least what I've noticed in the Bay Area.
right.
For sure, there has not been, there's been little minor corrections or pauses
Mhm.
where we've had to drop prices by 5 or 10% to get them rented.
Mhm.
But we're talking about a period of maybe 3 months, and then there's another uptick in rentals and market prices are back up.
Yeah.
But if you go year over year, I don't think there's been a drop in rental prices. I remember when I first moved out of my parents' house and moved into an apartment building in Pinole,
Mhm.
2-bedroom apartment, 900 square feet. It was a large apartment building
Wow.
with a carport, laundry facility on site, um, upstairs unit, 2-bedroom, 1 bath for $800 a month.
Ooh.
Now that's like $2,200.
$2,200, right? I remember when I first moved, I moved into a studio over there in Hilltop on Lancaster, across from the mall.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, they're kind of ghetto, but I was only paying $530, included water and garbage. I mean, now, I'm renting studios out for $1,500 a month.
yeah.
And it's like, man, that's crazy. So, what I've seen is the rental market has not gone down, and from experience, when prices on real estate go down, rentals usually increase, usually from my experience. Um, I could, when we were actually going on that turn where people were realizing, man, it's cheaper to buy a house than it is to rent, I could probably see that maybe the rentals things may have slowed down a bit.
Hmm.
But now we're back at that part where the prices are really high. Um, So the rental market's still strong. Like I've got clients right now that ask me, "Hey, do you have any rentals? Rentals? I need a place right away." And I literally have nothing to show them.
Yeah,
I go on the MLS and I look at the stuff that's on there, and those things aren't even available no more. That's just
yeah,
they're not updated,
correct.
and it's like, oh man, it's tough. And then you got people, they need houses like as soon as possible, and then they're taking whatever they can. And when they're taking whatever they can, we're talking about houses that are, what I mean?
Yeah,
They definitely drop their standards.
yeah. I have quite a few people that uh, follow me on Facebook, and they're constantly hitting me up with, "Hey, can you help me find a place? Can you help me find a place?" And I would say 90% of these people are willing to pay, anywhere from a few $100 to $1,000 just for my services to help them find a place. Like
Right.
this would be on top of whatever they pay to for a security deposit, whatever, right? So like kind of like a buyer broker's commission, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And the problem is I have to tell them every single time, I appreciate you reaching out and wanting to use me,
Mhm.
but unfortunately, it's not a service I provide because there's no way I can comfortably provide that service,
Mhm.
collect all this money from people, and then there's not enough places out there for everyone.
Right.
I can't guarantee you anything.
I know.
It's not something I don't want to take people's money just to, take
Take it, yeah.
people's money, and then I can only maybe get 10% of the people in there.
Right. And then all these, renters, these applicants, they're going over there, they got 30 to $35 background check each person. On top of that, the requirements are so high, and a lot of times they don't even end up getting it. So they're like so frustrated even going to landlord trying to get a place that they take whoever says, okay, pay me this much, and
Yeah.
we'll take it because they get tired of the runaround, and it's brutal.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, many times I found though you can bypass some of the very expensive application fees,
Mhm.
especially when it comes to dealing with the owner directly, because if you bring them a recent package
Mhm.
already prepared,
Mhm.
most of them are just going to look at it and then just make a decision off of that. They're not going to run their own reports and go through that entire process. I've got a couple videos on YouTube where I explain how to essentially, well, if you don't have a credit score, for example,
Mhm.
I have a video to explain to you how you can build your own credit score
Cool.
and credit report, right? Because you show up with that, that's going to give you a lot more credibility and build trust between you and that landlord, as
Right.
opposed to just showing up and, oh, I don't have any credit score. Will you still consider me? But
Uh-huh.
there's so many things that you pay for on a monthly basis
Basis, yeah.
that don't show up on a credit report, right?
Mhm.
Many times your phone bill, right?
Mhm.
Only time it shows up on your credit report is if
When
you're
you
not
ain't
paying
paying
it,
it,
right?
right.
But
Collections.
there's credit card bills. There's maybe your parents bought you a car, but you're paying them back. Do a loan agreement between that and a payment history to show that you're paying your parents back, right?
Nice trail, yeah.
If you pay for Netflix or Hulu, you could pull up the 12-month history report or 24-month history report
Mhm.
of consistent payments.
Right.
Same thing when it comes to if you pay for the Apple Cloud. If anything that's a recurring monthly payment,
Mhm.
put it together, type up a little report, show proof of all this
Mhm.
documentation, and you'll be surprised. All of a sudden, you realize you have so many different trade lines, right? That when you show up to talk to a landlord, if you have a zero credit score, or maybe you have some negative stuff on your credit report, but
Mhm.
if you can show all these other trade lines that typically don't show up on a credit report and they're all paid on time, that that really helps out a
Oh,
lot.
definitely. Definitely. Yeah, any kind of help, like, as a person trying to find a place to rent and all that, especially in a competitive market, all those things really help, like, big time. Especially, when especially anything that can make you stand out to a landlord who's looking at 20 to 30 applications and they all tend to look alike after a while. That little edge where that person took that extra step would definitely help.
Yeah.
Especially a lot of people that I know that actually had good luck where people is because they were either highly recommended through a family member or something like that. But other than that, if you're just
Well, that's the other thing that surprises me is when you really pay attention to all the properties available for rent on the market, there's a big chunk of them that are rented out from the actual property owner to someone that randomly came up to them to talk to them,
Mhm.
or they're a friend of a friend or a relative of a friend. There's some kind of connection there that makes an introduction,
Right.
or they found them on their own somehow, and because of initial conversation, they like the people, they want to rent to them. So
Mhm.
one of the things I tell people all the time, because they're like, well, we're looking for rentals. We're contacting all these rental companies. Some close back, some don't. Some are easy to show, some are extremely hard to see.
Mhm.
What can I do? And I tell people drive around different neighborhoods, drive around areas.
Yeah.
And if you see a house being fixed up,
Mhm.
stop by, ask them, is this going to be for sale or for rent afterwards? You'll be surprised the percentage that are going to be for rent, way higher than for sale. And if you just simply talk to those people, you'll be surprised like how willing they may be just to rent to you just
Right.
because you did this little extra effort to find a place,
Uh-huh.
and
No,
it works.
that makes total sense because every time I'm working on a place or getting something fixed up, or just getting a property ready, put on the MLS or whatnot, having some contractors out there, there's always somebody comes in and says, "Hey, are you guys gonna rent this place out? I'm interested," which is a good idea too because some of them are, yeah, it's a good time to actually meet the homeowner there too, or whoever to, you can get the homeowner's contact information from the contractors. But yeah, every little thing I would tell everything helps, especially if you're trying to find a place to stay here in California because
Yeah, for sure.
it's
So
just crazy.
yeah. So let's talk about affordability in California, because there are comparisons you can do. Well, what's cheaper, to rent or to buy?
Mhm.
That depends on, well, what can you buy the same property for, the neighborhood. Uh, in the Bay Area, I've seen it's way cheaper to rent than it is to buy. The new tax reform, how it limits and caps your
Tax
your
write-offs. Yeah.
your deductible for state income tax and property taxes. That's going to encourage some people to rent just out of pocket wise. It's a little bit cheaper, right?
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, there's benefits to owning where
Mm-hmm.
you can do stuff. You kind of lock in your, if you do a 30-year mortgage, you're essentially locking in your price for 30 years.
Right.
And there's pluses and minuses to both. But according to the state's Realtor Group Traditional Housing Affordability Index, 27% of California households could afford the purchase price of the 588 median price
Mm-hmm.
in the third quarter of 2018.
Yeah.
And I guess this is up 26% in the second quarter in 2018 and down from 28% a year ago. So, what's, in your opinion, what's the key factor that's making affordability so low when it comes to purchasing a home?
Well, right now, like I said, we went on this great run where prices just kept increasing. Um, people are making a lot better money now, as they did a couple years back. So, but like I said, I think right now we're correcting ourselves because yeah, the prices have gone way too high. Like a lot of these people that were affording these homes, that were buying them at these super high prices. These were like tech guys who were making 150 each plus their spouses, so they're bringing like $300,000 a year. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Monthly household income. To whereas now, you know, the median is like 588,000 average. What can you really find out here in the Bay Area for that? Not much. You can find a small house, but probably going to be is something that needs TLC or whatnot.
Or if you go to Emeryville, 2-bedroom condo.
Yeah, so like when you get to the city, forget about it. There's nothing out there. You go to Oakland, yeah, there's not much out there either. Emeryville, you could get a condo, but you keep getting pusher further out here. So what I'm starting to see is everybody's gravitating towards like they're moving towards Vallejo, Fairfield, and they're just taking those longer commutes. But those are driving the prices up over there as well too. So yeah, it's interesting. Uh, like I said, I think it's 2019. The market's going to continue to kind of go down a little bit, and people's incomes are going to adjust to what these prices really should be. So that's kind of my take on it. What do you think
Mm-hmm.
about that?
Yeah, I mean, I think when you're talking about affordability, I think just like any market, it comes down to supply and demand, right?
Mm-hmm.
You have a huge demand here in the Bay Area and California overall. You have a lot of people that want to live here, right? With that high demand, you have to have enough supply, both rentals and resale housing, to accommodate the people that want to rent and want to buy here. The problem is when you don't have enough housing supply, then it makes, if you have a certain demand or an increase in demand,
Mm-hmm.
you're going to have people willing to pay
I'll
more to
pay
get
more.
what they want.
Right.
And so then you see prices go up.
Mm-hmm.
And you see rental prices, you see housing prices go up, and then that affordability for everyone in general just keeps dropping little by little every single year. And it seems like it just continues to keep dropping, just getting worse every year.
Mm-hmm.
Now, on the flip side, affordability was super low in 2006, 2007.
Right.
When the market turned around, all of a sudden you saw affordability get a much higher, right?
Right.
Because you had prices drop. So now that was a completely different factor of what was going on. Everyone was kind of hit on that one because of the way the markets were tied in, the
Mm-hmm.
housing, the loans were tied in with CDOs, CLOs, and stocks and bonds, and everything just tied in together with securitization. That was a very unique market and
Time.
situation in
Right.
time, right? But you have prices drop, affordability goes up. And I think for the most part in general, it's just supply and demand.
Supply and demand. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, I think right now, with the rates have gone up and all that, and we've seen a little decrease in prices, and sellers kind of coming to the senses that hey, these buyers can't even afford them. So if I want to sell, we're gonna have to make drop the price or give some concessions. I think we're gonna slowly move back down there, and I think the market's correcting itself. So the affordability factor will probably, for what people are making to what the average sales price is, I think it's going to start to adjust to kind of be a more of a fair playing ground, because right now we all experience the market just increasing so high, and everybody's supply and demand. And it's one of those, like as a realtor, I wish I had a crystal ball where I could kind of just tell what's going to happen. But it's like, yeah, we're right now we're in an interesting time too, because we got sellers who don't want to drop their prices. Buyers, is not that they're being picky, but rates are going up, things are changing. To qualify for a home, like a $600,000 home, you got to at least make over six figures for sure, depending on your down payment and what you come into. The higher you go, I mean, we have houses out here that are 800,000 to $1 million. You got to figure you got to have at least two people making over six figures to qualify for those houses with a sizable down payment. So, yeah, it's just a matter of it's interesting, where this affordability thing is going to come into.
Yeah, and for me, it really just comes down to supply. We need to figure out a way to increase supply here in California. Build more units. Gavin Newsom wants to build 500,000 new units. Some of those are going to be new for resale, new construction for resale, and then some will be for apartment housing, right?
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, we need more housing. The one interesting thing that I've learned this year in 2018 that I really want to track a little bit more is, historically, there's always been a certain percentage of foreign buyers in the single family housing market for investment purposes, immigration purposes, and even for them to have a second vacation home or what they claim as a personal residence here in the States, right? And then when the market crashed after 2018, we saw foreign buyers really jump up. And I want to say at some point in 2010 or 11, 40% of all Bay Area sales were from foreign buyers, mainly from China. Now, what we've been seeing this year, and I'm saying this with some discussion with a few economic groups or economists, attorneys that also work in immigration, they're starting to notice trends where a big chunk of these foreign buyers that would typically buy single family homes are now going away from single family homes and moving their money into apartment housing. They're buying multi-unit families, or they're even going to commercial buildings. And so that's an interesting trend, because if the market starts correcting itself like it's doing now, and then you have this percentage of foreign buyers, let's say now I want to say it's about 20% now, but let's say that drops in half, you're talking about 10% of overall buyers disappearing because they're simply going to multifamily or commercial. I mean, if you lose 10%,
that's going to be a big drop.
That's a big drop.
Yeah, I agree. Like I said, it's so interesting right now where we're headed. You know what I mean? Like you said, you're keeping tracks of the stats. A lot of them were from foreign buyers and things. We did see a reduction in that. Now we're starting to see a lot of the millennials stepping up now, buying properties. They're finally settling down. But it's just interesting where all this is taking place, where the affordability factor comes in. It's
So talking about millennials, the one podcast I have to give, tell everyone you got to listen to this podcast, because it's very eye-opening to what's happening with the economy. It's Grant's Yield Podcast.
Oh wow!
And I think their website's grantobserver.com, but they track everything as far as the economy. And that's their main business, and their podcast is phenomenal. I mean, they get into all the intricate details of the economy and what's happening, where things are going, and it's very eye-opening, very good. People should go listen to it. But what they've been talking about is, and it's interesting, they've been talking about housing quite a bit lately because of millennials. The average home buyer right now is about 32, 33 years old. Well, actually, I should say the average first-time home buyer is about 32, 33 years old.
Sure.
But the problem and historically, been about the mid 30s for a first time home buyer.
Mm-hmm.
The problem that they see coming up is a liquidity crisis. What they're seeing is so much student loan debt
Gosh, yeah.
that people are graduating with 20, 40,000 worth of debt, sometimes 100, 200,000 worth of debt that they have to pay back before they can even purchase a property.
Gosh.
And so the problem here is, well, if they have to pay this back, but they are not making enough or doing what they went to school for or whatever the case is, they're not paying these loans back. That's the main problem. They can't file bankruptcy against these type of loans and get rid of them, right? So it follows them for life. And so what happens when they get to that early or mid 30s when they would historically be a first-time home buyer? What happens at that point? They're not going to be able to buy a home.
Mm-hmm.
So they're already discussing a liquidity crisis in the upcoming years, and they're talking about 5 to 10 years.
Wow.
Something that could be very comparable to what we had with the Great Recession, just different.
Yeah.
So that's something that they're talking about and tracking right now. It's very interesting to listen to because that could be another big factor in about 5 to 10 years that creates a big giant slowdown in the housing market.
Right. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I mean, so many people out there going to school too, and they're not guaranteed jobs. And then on top of that, I've had a few clients like that too, where they're,
Well, the one problem, like I've seen, and I've said this on the podcast before, is that I think since the 50s and 60s, America has pushed college too much.
Mhm.
They've overvalued college to the point where now it's just a big giant business and colleges just make a ton of money and loans are being given left and right.
left and right.
Obviously,
yeah.
there's advantages to college, but is it a clear cut answer that every kid should go to college after high school? Answer is no.
Right.
You really have to look at who the kid is, what they really want to do. Doesn't make sense, financial sense, to spend $40,000 to go to school to still not know what you want to do. Sometimes what you really need to do is get out into the real world, do some things, do as many things as you can, and then figure out what you want to do.
Yeah.
And sometimes you'll figure out that college is not needed. Maybe a vocational school. I mean,
Yeah.
and
a
then
trade or something. Yeah.
in a trade, yeah. And that's one thing that, people used to look down on tradespeople, plumbers and contractors and construction. Like, if you did labor,
It was looked down upon.
it was looked down
back
upon
in-
because what was put on a pedestal were the educated people, the bankers, the Wall Street people, right? The attorneys, the people, doctors, like people that were educated, right? But that's also now created like a saturated market of degrees.
Right.
And look what's happened with trades. Now they have a lack of workers. They don't have enough people. So
No,
you have plumbers and
we're making a heck of
electricians
money.
that
Yeah.
are making $100,000 to start.
Right. With no school debt.
Exactly. Exactly. And now if you could be as a average plumber, not even good, very dumb, stupid marketing, maybe just a Google page, and you're making $200,000 a year. You don't need to do any marketing.
Yeah. A lot of the stuff too. I mean, you go to school. I mean, not to look down on profession, but as in the real estate game, you kind of see what people make. You got teachers coming out of there going, having school debts to pay off, and they're making anywhere from like 50 to maybe 90 to maybe even 100,000 a year, but start around like 50 to 60, if I'm not mistaken. You not even have a college degree or anything, and go work for like Comcast and make the same amount, which is like kind of mind blowing, And then this other person went through all this school, and they have all this school debts that they got to pay off. So when they go ready to go buy a home, they got to count that debt against them. Whereas, and it just doesn't add up.
Yeah,
and I think,
and again, it depends on what you want to do, right? Obviously, if you want to be a doctor, you have to go to school.
correct, yeah,
Right? So it depends on what you want to do, but for most people, they really have to take a look at what they want to do.
yeah, that's all it always comes down
Yeah.
to. Like I had the same talk with like my daughter. I'm like, college is expensive, so you got to figure out exactly what you want to do, because I've got too many of my own friends that's done this. Like they're my age, and they're still in school, still trying to figure out what they want to do. And I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it gets costly, and you should try to figure that out. Like you said, go do something first, go get a bunch of jobs and figure out what it is you like to do. Because there's just too many people out there with degrees that they're not using.
Correct.
And they're paying, they owe on those things too. They got all these school loans against them, and it hinders them for whatever for later on when they're trying to buy a home. It does, and
Yeah, and the interesting thing about education is that you're going to start seeing. I mean, you saw online schools come out, right?
yeah,
But then online schools were completely overpriced, right? But
yeah,
they price higher to be well, to give you that convenience of being able to do it at home, right?
hmm
But now we're starting to see colleges that are starting to put free content out online. So why and I think you're gonna start seeing Udemy.com and the I think it's called the Khan Academy.
hmm
But you start seeing these online schools, academies, or websites, right? Where I can go online and put up a property management course and teach anyone all the details
really,
about property management. And I can give it for free, or I can charge $100 a class. I can charge $1,000 a class, whatever I want.
yeah,
And if someone finds value in it, they can pay. So I think what you're going to start seeing probably in the next 5-10 years as far as education, you're going to start seeing some people pull away
hmm
from colleges and really start looking at other options. And I think you're going to start seeing more and more people going online to learn different things. I mean, if I need to learn something, I go on YouTube.
I know you could almost self-diagnose yourself too.
That
Whenever
can be a
you're
little
sick,
scary. That
I
can be
know,
a
because
little
then
scary
you
because
Google something, you're like, oh my gosh, I'm dying.
yeah.
I did that the other day when I stepped on a nail, and I was like, oh, what are the symptoms? Oh no, I got to cut my foot off.
Yeah.
And whenever I went actually seen a real doctor, and they're like, no, you're fine.
Yeah.
Here's a tetanus shot.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, exactly. Yeah, we're at that information age where you could just Google something, and then they'll give you videos and examples and way more than enough information you need. We're at that era in life right now where we could just everything's at the tip of our fingers.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, and it does, which is kind of scary because it's technology is taking everything over. Like you said, that get technology can also pull away from like the colleges and educations and whatnot. Um, I even heard that like fast track. There's no people on the bridges anymore. I think I heard that they just removed it. I'm not sure.
I know
Or they're
Golden Gate
starting
Bridge has
to.
been like that for a long time, for many years.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay.
Golden Gate Bridge has been like that for a long time, where there's no people there manning it. Um, it's just all fast track. And
Wow.
I think that's great because cars can just zoom on by and not worry about it,
Right. 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 True. True.
right? It only sucks if you don't have fast track, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And the problem with that too is if you don't have a credit card or
Mhm.
you don't have a bank account that you can tie to the fast track account,
You get that
you
big
can't
fine.
have fast track. Well, there are a lot of low income people that don't have bank accounts or
Yeah.
don't have credit
Unfortunately,
cards.
yeah.
And then if they need to go into the city for whatever reason, or they commute to work there, they have to find other means
hmm
other than driving a car in there. So there's definitely advantages to going full tech, but the
hmm
problem is, well, how do you bring low income people into the new technology? You have
Right.
to kind of wait. And that's one of the problems with technology is that sometimes there's technology to do things very efficiently, but you have to wait until society is able to catch up enough to where everyone's got a bank account, everyone can go online and have the internet, right?
hmm
That was a big thing. Now that everyone pretty much has the internet here, now it's a matter of, okay, well, now what can we do with it? Well, people still don't have the money to be paying for a whole bunch of apps and services, so they're kind of limited, right? So you
hmm
got to kind of wait for society to kind of catch up to that.
Right. Right.
Yeah. That's why technology is very interesting, and you see a lot of really cool technology that comes out, then it dies off. Then 10 years later, it picks up again.
Yeah. Technology's like changed the real estate game so much ever since when I got in.
So,
I mean,
yeah,
that's tremendous.
I'm happy to see because
Oh, for
when I got into, I've always been a techie, and so in the early years of real estate, seeing the technology in real estate was very disappointing. I mean, it sucks.
Yeah, it did. Yeah.
Technology, like even the MLS back then, like it's it's still not where it should be as far as functionality and everything else. Um, and not just the MLS, but there's a lot of technology that just wasn't clicking right. Top Producer was the biggest CRM
Yeah.
for forever.
Forever. Yeah.
And when I first signed up for it, I'm looking at it. I'm like,
it
this is so
sucks.
clunky. It sucks. It can't do much. You can't edit this. And I
Right.
just hated it.
Yeah.
I'm excited because in the last 3 years, we've seen more and more money every year being dumped into real estate from tech companies.
Yeah.
And you're starting to see all these different software and programs and things that are starting to connect with each other come out.
Mm-hmm.
And that is really exciting to see because a lot of it is going to automate the day-to-day tasks that we as realtors have to do.
Right.
It's going to be interesting to see at what point and what technology will come out that will then automate a lot of the stuff that we do.
Mm-hmm.
For example, showings. I'm
Yeah.
dealing with some electronic lockboxes right now on rental properties.
Yeah. And it notifies you, right? Right when
Yeah.
somebody goes in.
So they go to my website, they register for a showing.
Uh-huh.
They then have to verify with photo ID or a credit card. Um, they get verified.
Oh, these are tenants?
These are tenants, yeah,
Oh,
prospects
man.
looking
Prospects.
yeah. So they sign up to see a rental. They upload a copy of their photo ID or their credit card. The info gets verified. Once they're verified and they get the approval, they get a lockbox code 30 minutes before their scheduled showing. And the lockbox code is only good for 30 minutes beginning at the showing time.
Wow.
So they show up to the property, they enter the code, and every single tenant has a unique lockbox code. So it's not the same one. So if something happens, we can track it back down to the person who used that code, and we can track it back to the exact person, and their info has already been verified.
What kind of lockboxes are these? The Supras?
No, they're not supers.
Oh,
they're
the
special
combination?
electronic lockboxes. They're
Ah.
made by Vault E-Locks.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
pretty awesome. Man, see, we get better and better each time.
It's pretty impressive because we save time on having to
Go out there.
and show it. People just sign up for it and go out and see it.
And that's the thing too. Like, I mean, as a realtor, kind of scared because these things could take our jobs. Like, I thought about it. Like, hey, why do we even really need realtors to show us these homes? Pretty soon they're gonna be online. They've already got the homes on Zillow and Realtor.com. Then they're pairing them up with agents. Go see them. I mean, I could see this for seeing in the future.
Especially vacant homes, right?
Vacant homes that, hey, get pre-qualified or do whatever you need to do. You get a range of homes in this, whatever you're qualified up to. You can see these homes and here's the code, here's the app. You can go in there, you can schedule your own showings. I could see that in the future happening, especially right now, as you mentioned that with the rental market. That's always been in the back of my mind. Like, hey, we're all just going to be online agents at this point. There'll probably be no interaction, very little in the future when it comes to real estate.
that could very well be the direction we're going to because, and some of the owners have come back to me and said, yeah, but you do these electronic showings. Aren't you afraid that someone can steal something? I'm like, well, yeah, they could steal something, but will they? Most likely they won't. I've been doing this now for a year, and I've never had a problem with these electronic lock boxes with someone going in and stealing anything because one, we can track it back to them. Two, they have to verify their credit card or their photo ID. I mean, if you're going to steal something or commit a crime, most likely you're not going to be giving up your data, right?
Yeah.
Or your ID. And then on top of it, landlord policy insurances, or if you have like a seller's coverage, if there's vandalism or stuff that happens, you could file a claim and get that back.
Right, yeah. And so it's so amazing with all this technology. It's it's come a long way. Because my parents, I grew up in a real estate family. I remember when they were just the MLS was basically just a book, a big thick book, and you
have to wait for it once a week for it to show up.
Don't even know if it's really available. You'd have to call the agent to make sure it was still available. And as a consumer, you never really knew what was in that book. So you really had to really trust in your agent if he was showing you the houses You know what I mean?
Or really showing you everything available
Showing
on
you
the market.
everything, or
Yeah.
they're just being lazy or whatnot. But I remember, and then it was combo lock boxes. I mean, it was tough times, and you'd have to actually print your forms.
Yeah.
Back in the day, you forgot a form or you forgot an initial. They didn't have emails back then, so everything was fax.
Yep.
You'd fax it and come out like crap. You could barely see it. Gosh, I mean,
Yeah.
we've come a long way. Like,
Yeah, my mentors, Jack and Gary over at Security Pacific, they used to sell foreclosures, right?
mhm.
So they'd sell all these foreclosure properties in the late 90s. And it was funny because they still had some files that they showed me when I started working with them. And they had to take photos of properties, print out photos, paste the photos to all these pages, these BPO photo
Yeah,
addendum
yeah, yeah.
forms, and then they would have to make copies and then mail them to the asset manager, who would then
Oh,
review
that's
everything.
tough.
And that's so funny because when I got into
Doing
selling
BPOs, yeah.
foreclosures in 2007, you literally just take photos with your phone, upload them to your computer, and then upload them to the software that the asset manager had, and done.
And email it,
Yeah,
yeah.
and it was like instant. I mean, you could have photos within the same day, and it's just funny, like, to see how technology has really like changed our industry and how
Mhm.
it's worked.
And then like DocuSign. Oh my gosh, that was a game changer.
Yeah,
When that came out, when I first got it, and I was like, oh man, and sending them out to people's email, and then it would be signed. And I'd be like, dang, because I remember I would actually go when I was still I was an agent during the times we just had the forms and you had to write it freehand, and you know, you have a client that wants to write on, you know, 4 or 5 different houses. You got all this paperwork, and you know what I mean? Then you got to fax it, you got to sit by the fax machine. It was horrible.
yeah,
So with DocuSign coming out, I was like, dang, I remember I used to say to myself, these agents don't know what it's like,
yeah,
how easy it is to be an agent at this point. Or even as far as marketing, I mean, they used to just have those real estate books. I don't know, remember those?
yep,
The real estate booklets? Instead of everything online, they just pick to the page and but now you just go online, they click and sends you right to you. You know, they send, you know, the contact right straight to you, talk to them direct. Things have gotten so easy.
yeah. With the internet and in the age of information, if you try to be a gatekeeper for information, you're gonna lose. You're gonna eventually be weeded out,
Mm-hmm.
and tech companies are gonna come in and just get rid of you. I mean, it's that simple.
Right.
So you have to really adapt. And in fact, you see so many people against OpenDoor.com, against Zillow, against Redfin, against Compass, against all these tech companies that are doing. They're investing a lot in real estate, and they're trying to automate a lot of the real estate process. And you see a lot of backlash from the industry against these companies. And I think we're looking at it the wrong way. I mean, we should not be looking at these companies as, oh, they're trying to take our jobs. No, they're making the
Make it
process
easier.
better for the consumer. Period.
Period. Right.
Period. It's better for the consumer. Period. If you want a job in this industry,
You need
then
to evolve.
adapt.
You need to
Exactly.
evolve. Yeah. Because I mean, I watched my parents phase out of it. You know, when everything was moving towards online. I remember my dad go, I can't work a computer. I hate this computer. He eventually had to retire. But yeah, I mean, you have to evolve. You know, when I wasn't, computers was not my strong point. And I remember when the computers were just starting to get introduced, and I remember I was having like, oh my gosh, I don't even know how to log into my email, or my computer's freezing up and didn't know, you know. And I remember there was that moment of frustration and growing pains of trying to figure out the computer. But like once you figured it out, and you know you're out there, you know, using DocuSign and all the other tech gadgets that you are to make your job easier, you're like, how could you ever go back?
Hmm.
I remember for the longest time I used to have that. Just this year, I used to have that super key, the one that you actually have as opposed to the one that's attached to your phone.
Okay.
I used to have the one that charged up the cradle, and I didn't want to give that up. I don't know why. I was just stuck on my own ways. Like, I want to keep it.
Well, that's another problem. We get stuck in our own ways,
Right.
right?
And then I got forced to because they were phasing it out. So I traded it. Now I got it on my phone and I'm like, what the heck was I thinking? This
Yeah.
is so much better. It notifies me, you know, when somebody, you know, goes through my lockbox, is showing my listings. It reminds me that, you know, if I'm done showing the house, to lock it up. You can see things, you know, activity reports on your phone. And I was like, man,
Yeah, it's way better. And we
way
have to,
better.
yeah, we just have to, as an industry, embrace it and change the technology. I'm excited to see what else comes up, because the one thing for me that I'm really excited about is Google's duplex, their AI bot.
What's that?
So if no one, so for the listeners and viewers, if you don't know what Google Duplex is, you have to Google it and watch the YouTube demo. It's amazing. So it's an AI that they've developed that sounds. They have a few voices.
Okay.
One sounds like a male, other one sounds like a female, and and they did a live demo where they had these bots. One called up a restaurant, the other one called up a hair salon to make appointments. And they had full on conversations to book these appointments
Oh, wow.
with a live person that answered at the restaurant and the hair salon. And there were some curveballs thrown at the AI bot, and how the AI bot processed and maneuvered its way through it and completed the task was absolutely amazing. And it's pretty scary.
That is
I mean, it's
scary.
It's impressive
Just
and scary.
listening
Yeah.
to it.
Yeah, because you're like, there's no way this is AI. There's no way this is someone from Google calling and them just putting on this big elaborate magic show, right? But no, it's legit, and they're and I think little by little they're going to start incorporating that technology into their products, which I'm pretty excited about. Now, Google announced that the main purpose for them to develop this bot to begin with. I mean, there's a lot of different things they can use it for, but they said one of the biggest, most inefficient and expensive things that happens in our society is hours for businesses don't get updated online. For Google, Yelp, nothing gets updated, right? We have Thanksgiving holiday, yet if you go online, most businesses will show open when they're closed, right?
Right.
Well, what they plan to do is they plan to have real life or real time hours updated constantly on google.com for any business. And what they plan to do is have this bot literally just make thousands and thousands and thousands of calls to all these businesses. When someone answers, it'll ask them for their upcoming holiday hours and upcoming weekend hours and this and that. So once it collects that information, it can
They
update the
update it.
websites in real time, saving people that are looking for businesses much more time.
Wow.
And then you don't have to spend, like it's really impressive, like
It's
how they
scary
want to use
how
it.
impressive.
But there's so many different things they can apply that to afterwards as they continue to perfect this. I mean, the one thing that actually, have you seen the new Google Pixel phone?
No.
So the Google Pixel phone has a feature on the phone, and I don't know if this is with that specific Android software or if it's on every new Android phone, including Samsung's. But someone calls you, the bot will answer for you and ask the person, "Hi, I'm answering on behalf of Ron Baniqued. He's unavailable right now. Can I get a message from you, or what would you like to talk to him about?" Or I'm not sure entirely how it works, but it'll find out what they're calling for. And then it'll send you a message and let you know, so and so's calling. Here's what they're calling about. Would you like to answer or deny this call now? So it'll
Wow.
get the info
It'll
from the
filter it
person.
first.
Yeah. It'll filter it first.
Wow.
And that's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
So what I see is one day property management. I mean, we get inundated with phone calls every single day. One day property management companies are going to have a Google bot, the duplex bot, literally answering calls and answering any questions.
Yeah.
I mean, that's going to be number one. Number two, I mean, any business where you have to do cold calling, politicians that do campaigning. I mean, there's so many things that this bot can do for society. I mean, I think that's going to save so many people on time. I mean, you know how much money is spent on paying people to make phone calls?
Oh yeah, tons.
Exactly. All that money gets completely wiped out or saved if you just have a bot making those calls.
I know everything's taking everyone's job. That's it's like Terminator.
Yeah.
Cyberdyne's coming, and man, it's got its pros and cons, but yeah, I mean, it's just like anything. we got to adapt and evolve and learn how to use all these things to our benefits, and or else we'll get phased out.
Yeah, I don't think we'll get phased out. Just new jobs come up,
New
right?
jobs come
Because
up.
then there's got to be someone who oversees compliance with it to make
Correct.
sure maybe tweaks have to happen, or uh, new jobs evolve with new technology. And I think that's where people, again, you have to adapt your own job and your own occupation to keep up with the times. And if your job gets eliminated, well, there's always going to be another job that opens up, and maybe you need to go in that direction, education, whatever needs to be done, but you also have to adapt.
Adapt. Yeah, that's one thing I realized, that is you gotta have you gotta be able to just adapt to anything, because the world is ever changing. What we were used to like 5-10 years ago, it's obsolete. If you don't catch up with it, like if we were still stuck on those old flip phones, we wouldn't even be here with our new smartphones,
Yeah.
and they get smarter and smarter. Those phones are collecting data on us, like, it's it's
Yeah, but to a certain extent, we're okay with it, right? We want to use the products more than we care about our privacy. That's what it
correct.
comes
Yeah.
down to. We just don't like it when a company abuses the rights that we give them, right? By that accepting terms and conditions. Um, I mean, but at the end of the day, it's all convenience.
Oh yeah, it's super convenient. Like I got family all over the world, that I communicate on the phone, and through FaceTime and things like that. Things back in the past would have cost an arm and a leg to do something like that. But now with all this technology, like even if they're thousands of miles away, they feel
Yeah.
like they're right there. And then you see what they're up to on social media. It's like you don't miss them as much. You know what they're up to. So it's cool where this thing's headed. And I could just imagine 5-10 years from now, it's just gonna be it's gonna be crazy.
Yeah, we're gonna have like virtual AI assistants.
Got cars that drive themselves already.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, that's another thing. Like, imagine a network of cars that communicate with each other that's able to adapt, and maybe instead of taking the freeway, it'll take San Pablo Avenue to adjust for all the other traffic around.
Right.
Yeah. And there's already the technology for that too. I was reading an article where we already have the technology for that, for the cars to communicate with a central network and be able to adjust. But then you have the cost of implementing that kind of system, and it's huge.
Yeah.
And then it comes down to, well, who's going to pay for it?
Right.
And then it's a lot of money, and is everyone willing to be assessed, a property tax, or
Oh yeah. Make
you
up for
start
that.
getting to real world problems of, okay, well, where's the money going to come from? Is
Right.
everyone willing to chip in?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's all interesting stuff. But speaking of new things, and speaking of Google too, they're looking to drop $220 million on 21 acres of land.
Wow. Yeah, I didn't know about that.
Yeah, and I guess where's this? Sam, do you know it's in the South Bay, but do you know what city?
It's in San Jose.
San Jose.
So
Wow.
apparently it's near SAP Center.
Okay. So, I mean, what do you think of a company like that buying a piece of land? They're going to develop it probably into a campus.
Oh yeah, definitely. I haven't heard anything other than that until you just actually brought it up. But they're a big tech company. We obviously know they're going to expand.
Is that going to be good or bad for the neighborhoods,
You
housing
know,
values?
I would say it'll be a good thing. It's going to create jobs. Um, I don't know what it'll do with it. It'll probably increase the values as well too. I could just imagine it with hiring all these new people, and they're gonna have good salaries being at Google. People are gonna want to be closer out there. It's gonna drive the prices up even more than actually it is. So that's what I would guess.
So probably not good for housing prices. I mean,
Not
good if you own it,
good if you own it, but not for
if you're trying to buy.
Yeah. But what I'm seeing too from the tech industry in general, like these guys, they're learning to commute. Like they're getting all these big jobs. They're moving towards Oakland, even further out. They're starting to get it.
Yeah.
Price per square foot is better, the further you go out away from Silicon Valley. But at the same token, there's going to be that good majority of people who want to stay and live where they're working at, and they're going to be willing to pay that premium.
Mhm.
So yeah, I mean,
It's around the Dearden's train station, some place in that area. So yeah, near downtown. and near the SAP Center. So
Oh, okay. Yeah, that area is already pretty hot.
yeah, that'll be fun for traffic after Sharks games.
Yeah, I actually got a client who's leaving that area.
It'd be nice to see Google actually build residential housing, right?
Right.
Maybe build their offices on the first few levels and then housing just above it.
Yeah, that'd be nice. Yeah.
And then they can house all their employees there.
So this statement from Sam Liccardo, the mayor of San Jose, after 8 months of extensive community engagement that includes nearly 80 meetings and thousands of conversations with neighbors, we look forward to continuing this process with Google as they pay full freight for land, taxes, fees, traffic impacts, and additional community benefits like affordable housing while bringing good jobs downtown near transit and improving our city's vibrancy. In a stark contrast to other cities handing billions in local tax dollars to companies like Amazon, we offered Google no subsidies and they didn't ask for any. Learn more about the land sale agreements with the city council we'll consider on December 4 with the link below. But
Nice.
A lot of people don't like Amazon and the subsidies that they demand, but at the same time, they bring a lot of jobs.
They do.
Yeah.
Oh man. Yeah, like I know a lot of people that are working for Amazon part time right now, and they like it because
Yeah.
it's flexible, and they go out there and they make money when they want to. And
Yeah, I haven't heard anything bad about Amazon as an employer. The only negative I've heard is if you work directly under Jeff Bezos, that he can be extremely tough to work with,
man.
like a total ass. But I mean, if you look, but it's the same thing about Steve Jobs, same thing about Elon Musk, same thing about a lot of these very unique individuals that build these multi-billion or now trillion-dollar companies that, it's a whole specific personality, mindset, and just forward vision that they've got in their mind that if you're going to work under them, it's going to be really tough.
Exactly. Yeah, they're like you said, they're unique people that come around. There aren't too many of those guys. And if you're gonna go work for them, you need to expect nothing less. It's gonna be brutal.
Yeah, when your boss is building cars that drive by themselves, digging tunnels underneath LA, sending things up to Mars, like
Come on, yeah. Who do you think you're working for? You know what I'm saying? This guy's not gonna give you, these, what I mean? He's not gonna give you no breaks. It's gonna be the most brutal. I can't see how people would expect less to go work for a guy like that. It's like, what'd you expect? Yeah, it's crazy, but.
Okay, well, I think we're going to end it there. That's our time for the podcast, but have a great Thanksgiving. It's good to hear that your business in 2018 is going really well. What are you doing to plan for 2019?
Right now, I'm actually starting now, I'm just evaluating how the market's going, kind of gearing my marketing material more towards like a buyer's market as opposed to where it was a seller's market. Trying to get a little bit more educated on the loan
So
programs.
that's smart. You're already adapting.
Yeah, because I'm figuring it out, like, hey, it's changing. This marketing piece ain't gonna work. You know what I mean? Like in 2019, you need to move forward. So yeah, that's what I'm doing. I'm just kind of just getting everything ready, kind of adjusting on what to expect, and then just setting goals and whatnot. Yeah.
Very cool.
Mm-hmm.
So I wish you the best in 2019. Have a good, happy Thanksgiving with your family, and happy Thanksgiving to everyone listening and watching the podcast. And we'll cut it off there.
Yeah, likewise. Thank you, and happy Thanksgiving.
And actually, you know what? Before we go, if someone wants to work with you, real quick, what's the best way to contact you?
Oh, either you can email me at info@ronniehomes.com, or you can just reach me on my cell. Send me a text or give me a call, 510-913-1545.
Perfect. Thank
you. Cool. Thanks, guys.
Thank you so much for listening to the podcast. Thank you to our producer, Sam Lubman. Please subscribe, like, comment, and share the podcast. Remember, you can listen to the podcast on iTunes, Podbean, iHeartRadio, Google Play, SoundCloud, and anywhere else you listen to podcasts. For more information on my business as a property manager and real estate team, go visit my website at marcguzman.com. I really want to thank all of you for listening. It means the world to me, and I hope today's episode provides you value in your day-to-day life. I created this podcast to help showcase the many great people that live in this world and help share some knowledge that I've learned along the way in life. Again, thank you for listening. Check out our sponsors, and I'll catch you on the next episode.